Hello, hello. This is gonna be video 798. Sorry, just picking up a plane here. My sons like to knock over my planes. Well, there's a big one up there. It's about this big of a wingspan, so it would hurt if it fell on top of me, but anyway. Alright, I'm pretty sure the audio is caught up by now, so I'll move my keyboard. I feel like I'm in the Matrix here. Like cables and cords just off the view. So it's kind of weird. I just hope in my next setup I need to do like a dedicated... Anyway, enough complaining. What's the video about? Shut up, right? Yeah, it's kind of late. It's almost midnight on January 24th. And I just wanted to make a video because there's been like 3 or 4 things today that have been like trans related and just like in my face, just driving me crazy. So I won't cover all of them because I don't want to think about them, but are in sequence. But this morning, when I got to work, I put on a CD of Enya. It was Enya's Watermark, which came out in, I believe, 1988. I'm not sure if that's the right date or not, but that's about the right time frame. Enya's Watermark and Shepherd Moons, I believe, was the next album. I'll have to download that and put that on my my phone as well. But it was like my go-to CD. It was my go-to CD when I was in college at Georgia Tech, and I really was just coming to terms with being transgender. And what did I want to do about it? You know, I had reached that point. It's like, okay, I need to do something about it. I want to do something about it. Okay, it was like right before I went to the college, the therapist at Georgia Tech, and said, I'm transgender, help me out. And you know, I listened to this, like I said, this CD over the course of my freshman year in college. I was doing Air Force ROTC, my first year of ROTC. I did 2 years of ROTC, but my first year of ROTC, you know, it was like over the course of the year, I was just coming out of my shell, and I started to have just problems, you know, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And, you know, it wasn't necessarily hyper-masculine behavior. I think, if you'll pardon the stereotype, I had a couple friends in Army ROTC, and I mean, that was like fun. Air Force ROTC, I mean, there were girls in both. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, it's a bit late. But anyway, so Enya's Watermark, it was just like my inner female voice, and finding it, not how I sound, but, you know, my inner dialogue, and just pushing through and breaking out and whatnot. It's very liberating, but it was very, very sad. And, you know, just so much just passion and angst and suffering, you know. And it just, there's songs on that track that just, for whatever reason today, just brought up. I mean, just, you know, came up while I was at work. And I think I listened to it twice. Not because I'm a glutton for punishment, but I started crying, and I was working, and I would stop, and I'd pat my eyes, and, you know, of course, I'm in my cube. No one can see what I'm doing. You know, we have high walls, cubes. So probably from everyone else that was, if they could hear me, we all wear headsets of music and everything. So probably no one could hear me. But if they did, they probably would think I was just sniffling, you know, like I had a cold or something. But, you know, it was just such a, I don't want to say a cathartic release, but again, it was just, and I'll have to listen to it again. Again, not because I'm a glutton for punishment, but because, again, it's just a release and just a gratitude that I am where I am today. But I don't know, it was a deep, deep moment. And it's funny because, like, the year between my freshman and my sophomore year, I spent in a dormitory. Trying to remember, it was the Towers dormitory at Georgia Tech. I because of the summer, my summer roommate dropped out, and so like I had a roommate in a 4-man room for like a week, and then they dropped out of school. Foreshadowing. And so I had a 4-man room to myself. I had like the main room, and then I had a side room. And so it really gave me the privacy that I needed, okay, to be myself, to explore my feminine self, okay, whatnot. And anyway, at the end of the summer, I was packing up my stuff and getting ready to move into another dorm. And apparently one of my ROTC friends, I can't remember his name, but he was a stellar athlete. I mean, he was awesome. His just the amount of push-ups and PT he could do, he could run, you know, just physically a nice young man, you know, someone who would be a perfect Air Force officer, you know, trim, very nice personality, had a good sense of humor. He really was an all-around good guy. But I remember one afternoon as we were packing up our stuff, and I walked by his room, and he had Watermark playing, and he was singing along to it. And I just went back to my room and I sat down and I was like, you know, that's my album. And here's this, you know, tough guy who's also enjoying it. Kind of shattered my world a little bit. But anyway, so it was kind of a big emotional investment of time. And I think I made a post on my Facebook page about something to the effect of, you know, only my brothers and sisters can understand the degree of emotional release that in terms of going to your place of work and being your authentic self. You know, and I was thinking about my friend Dawn, who kind of transitioned while she was on the job, and you know, my friend Brenda, who also transitioned, and you know, just you know, you can just identify when you know, just the satisfaction of, you know, I made it and I get to be my authentic self, blah blah blah. But it was an emotional investment. And, you know, about an hour ago, maybe 2 hours ago, I came back to my room after taking care of my daughter and whatnot. And I was going to put some 40K model or Age of Sigmar models together. And I came across a posting about today up in Indianapolis, which is the state capital of Indiana. The state legislature discussed some anti-trans legislation, and it was like, that was my beginning of my day was like transgender, and then the end of my day was like transgender shit. And just how overwhelming it can be. At face value, if you didn't know me, you could be like, oh, well, here's a 49-year-old post-op. She must be doing really well. Well, I got you fooled. I'm surviving, but I'm still dealing with some stuff which I think is probably normal. But just how much it's a daily struggle. It's a daily grind, and I'm not complaining, just an observation, and isn't that the same for life in general? I mean, you don't have to be trans to have problems or issues. I mean, we have the trials and tribulations of our daily struggles. But it just kind of struck me as, oh my gosh. The other realization, which feel free to go duh on me, is, so I thought about that this morning. How silly it is of me to think that a cis girl has a different experience than I do. And that probably doesn't sound like a really cognitive statement, but this morning I spent a couple minutes with makeup, okay? You can still see I have a little bit of eyebrow here. But, I spent a couple minutes trying to color coordinate my outfit. I mean, if I could brag for just a moment, I don't brag that often that I know of. I mean, my shirt matched my cardigan, matched my scarf, matched my makeup and my shoes, and my hair tie matched the color of my shirt, and I was walking around, and my company has official colors, brand colors, and it just so happened, or did it? I specifically buy light colors, okay, so I fit in. But I was walking around, and they have these painted lines as like an exercise track, so many times around the lobby is a mile, and it just so happened that the blue matched my shirt, and the green matched my skirt, so I was just like, oh, da-da-da. And as I rode the elevator, I was like, geez, do you think cis girls have this thought about, fitting in or color coordinate? I'm not necessarily sure that was the thought, but it was just kind of an idea, and I'm probably not going to make much sense on this, but, yes, we're definitely tainted by our experiences and the society that molded us when we were young. But would you humor me with the thought that a trans woman, cis woman, of similar age, okay, for me, I'm 49, I'm going to be 50. Golly, I'm going to be 50 in like 4 months, okay. Okay, where we are, working. Why do I feel that I am any less? Why do I feel like I am any less of a woman because I was born with a penis? I mean, that's like the most basic way I can describe it. And I'm probably not making much sense. But as I was driving to work this morning, I was like, this wouldn't happen if I was a cis woman. Because everything that a cis woman does is a woman. Because she's a woman, right? And so, I'm not making much sense, am I? But I felt like I was in comparison, like I was putting myself up against a cis standard. And thinking that I was less of a person because I was not a cis woman. Less of a woman because I was not of a cis woman. But why did I think that a cis woman wouldn't have the same problems? I mean, humor me on this. Like, my car didn't start right away. Or, because I was a little late dropping off my daughter to school, I was going to be late in getting to work. There are things that we just encounter. And why am I so hard on myself? I don't have an answer. But I just was sitting there and I'm like, Robin, you idiot. All of the effort and emotion and that I've wasted trying to emulate, or that I'm like in competition with a cis woman, doesn't make any sense. I'm like, God, I've wasted so much of my life. Does that make any sense? It doesn't, does it? Like I said, no matter what a cis woman does, she's a woman. So why do I have this thing where I feel like I'm less of a person or less of a woman? Because I was not a cis woman. Isn't that insane? Yes, Robin, you're crazy. Okay. I'm glad you agree with me. So, like I said, I've had a number of things today that are just like trans. I'm like, where did this come from? Why? I came back here to build models. I didn't get very far. I just put them on the base because I got caught up in something else. It's insane. Or I am. And jumping back to the other, because I think it'll make more sense than what I just did. The trans kids. Anti-trans legislation. I can't say that. I was going to say, isn't it nice that I can open up my computer, go to Yahoo, and it listed this article of, can you believe that these legislatures passed anti-trans legislation? And what I was going to say was, isn't it great that we are in a world where everyone in the world thinks, what a crazy idea this is. But then I realized the likelihood is that the news feed that I see on Yahoo is probably tailor-made for me based off of algorithms and everything else. The magic of the internet. How you can be driving in your car and you say, play this song, and then you're talking to someone and you say, we need to get new dishes, da-da-da-da-da. And they're like, yeah. And then when you get home on your computer, you have advertisements for dishes. And you're like, how did that happen? That's synchronicity, right? But like I said, probably my Yahoo feed is custom made for me. So maybe that's not exactly true. But back to the idea of these legislatures and wanting to ban trans girls playing sports. I can't. I don't know about your life, but my life, it took so long for me to understand and admit that I was trans and come up with a plan for it. And, my society, was ambivalent. It didn't go one way or the other, at least from my point of view. I can remember in elementary or middle school, my dad, he loved the movie La Cage aux Folles, Birds of a Feather, which was a movie from the 60s or early 70s that would then be remade with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane as the birdcage. But La Cage aux Folles was a French movie, obviously. That was basically the same premise as Birdcage. And I can remember being a young child, and I was like, men emulating women, and that's what I wanted to do. Well, I wanted to be a woman. I didn't want to just emulate. But didn't I just talk like 10 minutes ago about emulating womanhood? But, there was no pressure one way or the other. And under that, I felt shame and guilt, and I didn't want to talk about it. But where we are now, there's pressure to discriminate and to, regulate, discriminate against trans kids. And so if you were trans, I tried to wonder where I would be if I was a youngster nowadays. Would I be empowered to come out and talk about how I feel and that I'm trans? Or because of this other shit, would I be less likely to and be more likely to hide it and feel guilty and shame and upset, But, man, I can't. My daughter, as far back as when she was in elementary school, I guess she was in a really good, nice school. They were very LGBTQ plus friendly. The school. I don't know if I ever shared that story. When I started taking estrogen in May of 2015, and it made it through the summer, and then got to fall of 2015, school year, and I was just waiting for the right time to go full time. I was just waiting. I let my hair grow out. I was on hormones. I was on the patch. And just one of those things, I still dressed, I would say, non-binary-ish. I didn't wear a necktie, let me put it to you that way, but I wore polos. But it was actually my daughter's. They had an after-school program. While the time between school being over and me picking her up was about 2 or 3 hours. And so we paid for the school. We enrolled her in the program. And I'll remember, I'm still friends with her to this day. The woman who was like the caregiver, she was like the organizer of it. But anyway, one day I went to pick up Katie, and this was probably November-ish. I went to pick up Katie, and she pulled me aside, and she said, Robin, come here for a minute. And I said, well, yes. Well, is something wrong? And she says, well, I don't know how to say this. She said, I want to be very polite and affirmative with you. And I said, okay. Here I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Katie broke something or she fell over, And she said, should I start to call you Mrs. Parks? And it was like, I had not told anybody. I had not told my work. I had not done anything. I mean, Katie was, a wee lass. It was totally out of the blue. That's how much intuition this woman had. Or night and day, things were changing with me that I just didn't realize. But that was kind of a neat day. And that gave me a lot of courage because it was like, okay, other people are starting to pick up that something's different about me. I need to make a plan. I need to make a plan because if other people can tell, then, yeah. I'm still friends with her to this day. She's a great woman. But yeah, she's very polite. And I remember too in December, something happened in I know what it was. Let's see. My last day of being my former self was winter break of that year of 2015. Well, does that make sense? Yeah. And I picked up my daughter, again, from the after-school program. They had reached the Christmas break. It would have been around, December 13th, 14th, 15th, right before Christmas. And when I picked up my daughter, that was the last time I was a Mr. And the following week, I was a Mrs. But anyway, that week, I managed to lose my work ID. So I had to get a new work ID. And that was also one of the last things that I did as a mister, was to get a new work ID. And of course, by then you could look at the two And I mean, in addition to, growing my hair out, just totally different. I used to have a very thick beard. Oh, long time ago. But I wonder what other things are different. I really don't wonder. I don't want to. I don't want to go back. But anyway, so those are some things. I hope maybe now I can get to sleep. And it's a lot like Indiana Jones. I'm making this up as I go, and I just am glad that I made the videos that I did do, because much like I said before when I started this whole thing, was that the only internet videos I had seen, and I haven't seen very many, I'll be honest with you, it was always like a snap, and there was male and there was female, and it was like there was nothing in between. It didn't talk about the journey, and it made it seem like there was just an end, and it just doesn't seem to me. I wonder if there will be an end, I don't know. I don't know. Katie and I looked at some houses this week, and for fun, and I kind of had an idea about, I've always wanted a vanity table. My grandma, my dad's mom, she had this beautiful table with a mirror, and I have this guy here. Whoops. I don't know if you have one of these little... Look, it's you. It's you. Kind of sits back, and it's got a little light on it. You can flip this around and you have like a magnification. I guess this is like my makeup mirror. But I think about my grandma, and she had this beautiful table, and her makeup was organized, and her little bottles of perfume and whatnot. I guess that's why they call it a vanity, right? But I just kind of thought about, if I had the space, I think it would be kind of cute, I've always kind of lived in cramped quarters, and it would be nice to have the space, to have a table for this and space for that, instead of living under the fear of planes and helicopters falling on me. But anyway, I've talked too long tonight, but I did want to just share some things. If you have a music that maybe was your go-to, I'd be interested in, if you wanted to post it, something that maybe you embraced as you transitioned, or something that maybe is significant to you. I'd be curious. Like I said, for me it was Enya's Watermark. I don't think a particular song, maybe Miss Claire remembers, but just something about it. I just... On Your Shore, I think, is the other one. Strange how my heart feels to find myself upon your shore. Something, something, something about the memory that you've lost, and I'm forgetting it. My sense of comfort lost before. Anyway, just just cuts right through me. All right, on that note, I will sign off. Wish you the best of luck. Lord knows we need it. We have a lot of people who are just, they get their jollies off of heart and trans folk, and I mean, we're like the nicest group of crazy people you could care to meet, right? I mean, you know, what are we going to do? We're not going to hurt anybody. We're not going to get violent. I mean, of all the things to tackle, and I always come back to that on Facebook, I'm like, you know, state legislature, are they going to deal with homelessness? No. Are they going to tackle education? No. Are they going to tackle racial inequality? No. Are they going to tackle the justice system? No. What are they going to do? Ban trans youth. Republicans. Good job. A solution looking for a problem. Anyway, on that note, good night. Good luck. Pleasant dreams.